Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something that could be super helpful for moms out there,
Yeah.
especially if you're dealing with co-parenting after divorce. It could be tough.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're diving into this article about using technology to make co-parenting a bit smoother. And we're going to see if apps can actually help with things like scheduling nightmares and communication breakdowns with your ex. You know those days when you're juggling a million
Oh,
things?
yeah,
And the last thing you need is another miscommunication.
totally.
So
It can get really stressful.
it can.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do you think? Can apps really help us out here?
Well, they absolutely can.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Most of the stress in co-parenting comes from those frustrating phone calls, right? Or trying to figure out scribbled notes, or even dealing with shared calendars that just never seem to be in sync.
Right. And those old school ways of doing things sometimes just feel like they're making things worse, you
Yeah,
know?
it's like they're designed to create more conflict.
Exactly. So how does technology come into play here?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Apps like our Family Wizard and Cozy are specifically designed to address those pain points that we just talked about.
Okay.
And it's not just people saying they work, there's actually research to back it up.
Oh, really? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so there was this study in the Journal of Family Communication, and they found that using these kinds of digital tools can actually lead to better cooperation between parents who are separated.
That makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
When you have a system for communication and scheduling, it takes away a lot of the guesswork and the potential for misunderstanding.
Exactly.
So less conflict alone would be a huge win.
Oh, yeah.
Let's break it down. How do these apps actually help? Let's start with communication. I feel like that's where things get messy.
Oh, for sure. You're absolutely right. And that's where a tool like our Family Wizard is really helpful. It has this secure messaging feature, and everything's timestamped.
Okay.
So you don't have to argue about who said what and when. It's all right there.
That timestamp thing is genius. I
Yeah.
can already see how that would prevent a lot of headaches. But what about the situations where things get really heated? You know?
Well, our Family Wizard actually has a feature for that too. It's called Tone Meter, and it flags messages that might be a little too emotionally charged.
Oh,
And it actually encourages you to rephrase things before you hit send.
that's amazing.
Good.
It's like having a built-in mediator.
Right.
I wish I had something like that years ago.
Yeah. It would have saved a lot of us some trouble.
Seriously.
Mhm.
And, having that documented communication history is crucial.
Oh, absolutely. Especially if any legal issues ever come up. It just removes any doubt and provides a factual record of what was said.
It's funny you should mention that because I was just thinking about this the other day. My ex and I had this huge miscommunication about picking up our daughter from soccer practice.
I've been there.
And if we had our Family Wizard back then with the timestamps and the clear logs, it would have prevented so much back and forth.
Exactly. It's those everyday situations where these tools are so valuable. It takes the guesswork out and helps you stay organized, even when you're dealing with a lot.
So we've talked about communication. What about the other big co-parenting headache? Scheduling. I swear, keeping track of everyone's appointments and activities is a full-time job.
Oh, tell me about it.
Huh.
And that's where a shared digital calendar can be a lifesaver, like the one offered by Cozy.
Okay.
Now, we're not talking about those basic shared calendars that take forever to update.
Right.
Cozy has real-time updates. So if one parent makes a change, the other parent sees it right away.
That's so important. No more frantic texting trying to confirm who's doing what and when. I love that. Tell me more about some of the features for scheduling.
Well, besides real-time updates, there are reminders. So no more forgetting about dentist appointments or school plays. And you can even color code different events, so it's super easy to see what's happening each day.
So it's like having a personal assistant for your co-parenting life.
Exactly. It takes so much of the mental load off. Imagine never having to do mental gymnastics, trying to remember who's picking up the kids from soccer practice.
Oh my gosh.
Or wondering if your ex is actually going to show up on time for a doctor's appointment. It's all right there in the app, accessible to both of you.
Okay, this is all sounding really good.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got our Family Wizard, who seems like it's really powerful for communication. And then we have Cozy, which is more of a general family organizer with a great shared calendar.
Yeah,
So how do you choose between the two?
that's a great question.
I-
A lot of moms are probably wondering the same thing, like, which one is going to make my life easier,
Exactly. It really depends on your specific needs.
Okay.
Like if communication and keeping a record of things is a big concern for you,
Mm,
especially if things are kind of rocky with your ex,
right.
then our Family Wizard is probably the way to go. It's really strong in those areas.
So if I'm worried about potential legal issues or if things with my ex are a bit unpredictable,
Yeah,
our Family Wizard would give me that extra layer of protection.
exactly.
Okay.
On the other hand, If you're looking for something to help manage the overall craziness of family life,
Right.
like shared calendars, grocery lists, all that stuff.
Yeah. Then Cozy might be a better fit. It's a great all-around family organizer, even if you're not co-parenting.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like choosing the right tool for the job.
Exactly.
You wouldn't use a hammer to screw in a light bulb.
Right.
And the good news is both our Family Wizard and Koozie offer free trials.
Yeah.
So you can try them out and see which one feels better for your family.
Absolutely.
I love that. You can try before you buy, especially for something this important. So let's say you've picked the perfect app. What are some things to keep in mind when you're actually using it?
That's a really good question. You can't just download it and hope for the best.
Right.
You need to think about how you're going to use it. One of the most important things is setting up some ground rules with your co-parent right from the start.
So it's not just about the technology,
Uh-huh.
but how you use it.
Exactly.
What kind of ground rules are we talking about?
Well, think about things like what kinds of messages are okay for the app. It's about setting expectations to minimize conflict.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like creating a user agreement for your co-parenting relationship.
Exactly. And remember, the app is there to make communication easier,
Yeah.
not to make things worse. Keep the focus on what's best for the kids.
I've heard some moms say they're hesitant to use these apps because they're worried their ex will just use it as another way to argue or be controlling. What would you say to them?
That's a valid concern. For sure, technology can definitely be misused.
Right.
But it's also important to remember that these apps are designed to promote transparency and accountability. So if your ex is using the app to harass you or bully you, that's breaking the ground rules, and you can address that.
So it's not perfect,
Yeah.
but it does provide some safeguards.
Yeah,
And if things get out of hand, at least you have a record of what was said.
exactly. And remember, these apps are just tools. They can't fix a toxic relationship.
Right.
But if both parents are trying to use them in a positive way, they can be really helpful in making co-parenting smoother and less stressful.
So looking at the big picture, what are some key things moms should remember if they're thinking about using these tools?
Well, first, do your research.
Okay.
Figure out which app fits your needs. Then take the time to set up those ground rules with your co-parent.
Right.
And remember, consistency is key. Both parents have to be on board and using the app regularly for it to really work.
It's like any new habit. It takes time and effort to make it stick, but the payoff can be huge.
Absolutely. We're talking about less conflict, better communication, and just a more organized, peaceful co-parenting experience.
I think any mom who's been through the ups and downs of co-parenting would be happy with that.
Yeah, for sure.
So for all those moms out there listening who are feeling overwhelmed and maybe a bit hopeless, what's the one thing you want them to take away from this?
I want them to remember that they're not alone.
Yeah.
It's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to use technology to make things easier. You don't have to do this by yourself. There's support out there. And tools like our Family Wizard and Cozy can help create a more positive experience for you and your kids.
That's such an important message. You're not alone. You don't have to figure this out on your own. What's really cool about these apps is they're not just about managing the logistics of co-parenting. They can actually have a good impact on your relationship with your ex, right? Yeah, it really could change things. Wouldn't that be amazing if something that started as just a way to manage things actually made your relationship better overall?
It could definitely happen. You know, when you take away some of those communication problems and the stress of trying to figure out schedules, it leaves room for better interactions.
I can see that. If you're not constantly fighting about every little thing, you might actually start to see each other as partners in parenting, even if you're not together anymore.
Exactly. And think about how that would benefit your kids in the long run.
Oh, yeah.
When parents can communicate and manage schedules without all the drama, it creates a more stable and predictable environment for the kids.
It just makes things easier for them.
Huh.
Instead of worrying about their parents fighting, they can just focus on being kids.
That's what we want, right? To
Yeah.
create a loving and supportive environment for them, even if their family looks a little different now.
Exactly. So for all those moms out there who are listening and feeling overwhelmed by co-parenting, what's the most important thing you want them to remember?
I want them to know they're not alone. And there's no shame in asking for help. Whether it's talking to a therapist, joining a support group, or using tools like our Family Wizard and Koozie, there's help out there to make this journey easier.
That's so important. You don't have to do this all by yourself.
Oh,
And what's really cool about these apps?
what's that?
It's that they might actually make your relationship with your ex less stressful.
Yeah.
A little more friendly. Who knows?
It's worth thinking about. What if instead of dreading every conversation with your ex, You can actually work together as a team.
That would be a total game changer.
Right. Not just for you, but for your kids, too.
Absolutely. It's about changing your perspective and seeing technology as a way to build a more positive and peaceful co-parenting experience. So moms, if you're feeling stuck, I encourage you to check out our Family Wizard and Cozy, see if they work for you, and maybe start to imagine what co-parenting could be like if it were a little less stressful and a little more harmonious.
You might be surprised by how much of a difference it makes for you, your ex, and your kids.
It's definitely something to think about. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.